in assembly, Sarah and Betty, and I don't know who else. Virginia, did you sing?
Don't tell me we
yes,
sang.
And a quartet.
We had a quartet, and I don't read a note of music.
I wasn't there.
And I couldn't sing then, and I can't sing now.
Betty played the piano.
Yes, you were, Betty. You played the piano.
In front of the whole Stamps quartet.
Betty, I remember what we sang.
What?
Let me live close to thee each day.
Yeah, it was a quartet. I know it's beautiful.
Oh, we thought we were good.
And let me tell you how the times have changed. When I was in the 7th grade, my mother and daddy gave me a pair of Jodifers and some boots for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And the first day back to school, I wore my Jodifers and boots. And the principal sent me home and told me to change my clothes. I had to put on a dress. So that's how things
That was
have
Mr.
changed.
Well, times have changed, haven't they?
Right.
Well, I can't remember a lot, but I had a real good time. One thing that Billy and I did one time, I don't know how old we were, but we weren't old enough to date. I don't guess. But Miss Rhodes, I was spending the night with her, and we went to the show, and she said, don't get in the car with any boys. So these two boys, truck, so they wanted us to carry us home. And we said, we can't ride with you. And so they said, well, we'll just drive alongside you. They drove alongside us halfway home. When they did his house, we decided we'd ride. And they wouldn't let us.
4 days
And Perry Reed. 4 days had a truck.
4 days and Reed.
Perry had a truck. We decided we'd ride. About halfway in. They wouldn't let us. No, you can't get this truck with us. They rode on the side of all wheels. Yeah. How old were we, did
About 15.
But we could not date.
No. Yeah, right. Of course, how can you say that? You
I led a sheltered life. Well, I really grew up in the boondocks. If you've ever been up on the Wolf Creek, that's Little Wolf. It was wild and rugged. I remember one incident with Charles and myself. He had been up at my house, and it was at night, and we didn't have flashlights nor a lantern. And how many of you know what a mad dog is?
Oh, yes.
That's a rabid dog, and people were talking about such wild animals in our neighborhood. And on the way down to his house, we got real close to the barn, and we heard something out in the bushes, and we screamed and hollered. And suddenly his father showed his face. I tell you, hair on his face. Another incident I remember, and I don't know how it happened, but Sarah and my mother and I were at Bard Spring one summer. I think I was 14, wasn't
I don't know how old we were, but we were very old.
And a gentleman from Houston, Texas said, let's take a hike. So we went 2 4/10 miles out up on the mountain. And being an energetic young fella, I walked up the side of the mountain and found a big log about so big, and it was hollow. I was just sure I'd find a possum or a raccoon or something up in that log. Got a long stick and poked it up in it. Couldn't reach the end of it. So I broke off part of the side, and suddenly something attached to my finger. It felt like a crawfish. I said, what's a crawfish doing up here on this mountain in a log? Pulled my hand back, and there's this rattlemouth copperhead staring me in the face. Grabbed my finger like that and walked down, and the fellow says to the rest of the crew, watch out for snakes, there's a lot of them around. Just got bit by one. What kind? I think it was a rattlesnake. He had a hatchet. Where was it? Oh, I showed him. We went up there and chopped it into the copperhead. I said to
I carried it down the mountain.
You carried it down there?
Did you hunt a doctor or anything like
At
that?
QCC
no
camp.
doctors around. There was 11 miles
Have you ever
over
been to Bard Springs, Betty?
That's nice.
Carried me to CC camp.
You were doctors
I thought he died. That's
at
why
home.
his arm was turned black.
11 miles over the mountains to the CCC camp. But the gentleman with us took his penknife, pocket knife, and cut a couple of X's where the fangs had penetrated.
Yeah.
We soaked it in kerosene or coal oil.
Smoked it.
I
I think you passed out all the way down that mountain.
I don't know. Had a dog. We walked up, so we had to walk back. But I had some beautiful experiences. Most of
Still there. Yeah, right there. Yours gone.
beautiful experiences knowing you find people, and it's a great joy for me to be here. Nita and I have been married 47 years last December and have 10 grandchildren. And, we're both retired. We retired in 1986. I spent 39 years, 7 months, and 7 days with Southwestern Bell, and they gave me an opportunity to retire, so I said adios.
Still got those pretty little things you brought us one year. Our little, what do you call them? What do you?
Insulators.
Insulators, yeah. I did.
You need some more, let me know. I have a couple of hundred.
I have mine safe keeping.
Great.
While I think about John.
I'd like to interrupt before we get into the next table and embellish his story a little bit. Because I'm a little more familiar with my dad than Johnny was. You see, I said things were tough back those days. Entertainment was limited. So my dad kind of got a kick out of scaring us once in a while. That's kind of sick, I know, but it was kind of dull around those days, and I guess that's the best thing he could come up with. But I'd add to that story just a little bit here. We did have a flashlight. And I have been the unluckiest guy with flashlights all my life, and I think back on it, that's been that long, because, you know, they don't last very long with me. For some reason or other, when I need it the most, it goes out. And I had one of those that night, and we were ready, you know, because animals were around, like you said, mad dogs, panthers, all of those things. My dad made a pretty good hunt when he rode up out alongside this fence. And Johnny and I had been kidding each other all the way back. I see something, I see something. So we knew it was all a joke by this time. But I did shine my light around, and if I'd have kept it on my dad just another couple of seconds, I'd have known who it was. All I saw was this big hunk out there. And you know what sawbriars are? There was a little cow path down through there, but Johnny and I were barefooted. That's Arkansas for barefoot. And we made a new trail, left blood all the way. And the reason my dad identified himself as my mother was on his case something bad. She tried to get him not to go out there, but he couldn't resist the temptation. And it scared him too, because we were screaming so loud, it upset Johnny's folks a quarter of a mile away. I think Ralph Thomason about a mile away, and not only all. And so my dad got a little bit of trouble for that, needless to say. But that flashlight, when we started running, went out. Jogging around, and we just tore those sawbriars up.
I didn't remember the flashlight.
Well, it didn't last long, Johnny. Helen.
Gracious. My life's been real dull and sheltered after all I've been listening. But I don't know of any other place I had rather grown up is alive. I've always been proud to tell people where I came from. And I have 3 children. 3 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandson, that's the first boy. And my husband died in 1978. So I'm just staying at home, doing as little as possible.
I tell you, I enjoyed school. I had a good time.
Best of all.
I throw my lunch in the trash because it's all going. Yeah.
Those dirt courts didn't bother you, did they?
But I did enjoy it. One year, I call it Johnny. One year, and I talked a lot about this, about what the guitar and singing. She hated, I tricked her into that, you know, she didn't want to.
We knew him as a cackle sister.
We made a tape. I always see her in California. We made a tape. Yeah, I wish you could hear. I wish I brought it. But we laughed or we hurt. She talked, how long she talked. She said, oh my, this is what I've been told. I played it every once in a while. I mean, we go down, I put that tape on and listen to it. It really but I'm glad I was old.
But they could yodel.
Yeah.
We called them the cackle sisters.
Maybe.
Well, I was glad, I'm glad that I was raised in the line, because I was looking like, I told my kids, you know, we talked about friends in school, and I said, well, I never saw my friends. When school started, I loved school, and the reason I really loved school, because that's when I got to see my friends. And even people down there, you might have went to school, you might have went to the store on Saturday, but, and sometimes you go once a month, your mother went, but you always stayed home and took care of the other kids. And I remember Francis and I, we loved each other, but we couldn't hardly wait till school started, so we didn't see each other again. And I don't know how far it was from where we lived from each other, but it wasn't very far. We could walk. And so kids don't understand all that stuff now, you know, and things that we really loved and enjoyed, you know, that wouldn't even matter to them. And now little bitty kids, they time they're 10 years old, they live up and done everything in the book. And I tell my grandchildren that they knew no more now than I knew, and I'm 25. and it really is, it's amazing whenever. And I worked at a First Ladies daycare, and I cook, I'm a nutritionist, and I cook for them and see, and it's amazing what the kids know about them. It'll blow your mind. And every year they just get a little more amazing. And they learn, they're so smart. Just when you take a little child that's 3 years old, that's 2 years old, and he can knows all his colors, and he can count and say the ABC. And I don't know how old I was when I learned that. But I'm glad I lived in the slow lane. Because now I'm in the fast lane, and I enjoy going back to that slow lane and reminiscing. Think about it.
Old John D. Hill and Dr. Mackey, they worked with Paul Brock, service station next door. You'd be lying, stay with the wash period, and the wash car. And Paul owned his car one night, on 44. And we drove it all night long, I guess. We got in about 4 daylight. And ran out of gas, just got the brake up. So we pushed it all the way back to the service station. Got there and took the old pump, the old hand pump. Well, you pump it so long, it overflow on top. So we took a 5-gallon bucket and put it in the water bucket, pump the overflow and fill his car back up with old gas. We never tell about it.
Sitting up there, I didn't know any of this stuff was going on. Always have.
Oh, I've lived a pretty dull life. Not much to comment on. I'm still trying to work and take care of the old people. And I don't know who's going to take care of me because I'm getting old. But I do enjoy my work. I still work 3 days a week. And the only difference in my little patience and the child, you can spank the child and make it do. You can't these old folks.
Not anymore.
Tender loving care is all you can give them. And I try my best to make their days a little brighter by telling them some funny tale or getting out there and dancing and acting the fool with them. I enjoy it. I guess if it wasn't for that, I just wouldn't have much to do.
Glad you got it.
Sounds good.
Well, I enjoyed being from the light, and I still remember light, and I have traveled through the country quite a bit, and I tell them I was always proud of the light, but like you said, Glen Camel made it on the map, and since the last reunion, my life has really been in a tailspin. I lost my husband in 91, and he was sick several years, and cancer, and I'm a survivor, 5-year survivor, which I'm very blessed. So everything just, well, I wondered, I just kind of felt my husband, of course, he was my childhood sweetheart, you know, and all those years, we lived 46 years together, and he kind of spoiled me. But we liked outdoors, we fished, we hunted a have my brother with me here tonight.
You're welcome.
Charles, could I tell him one more thing?
You betcha.
Last night, I went to board meeting at the church, and there was a young fella that wanted to be baptized, and the preacher said, well, as soon as the weather gets a little cooler, we'll go to the river and we'll baptize you. We don't have a baptismal in our church. And so I had to tell him about being baptized in Wolf Creek.
That's quite an experience, isn't it? I'll tell you, I've enjoyed this round very much. How about everybody else? I'd like to add a couple of things here. When I arrived tonight over at the other side of this huge campus, it is now because all this wasn't here when we were here. I was like a guy trying to go through the maze, you know. Anyway, Gus Wingfield as well. Virginia. But anyway, when I came over here, I thought to myself, the last time that I recall being in this elementary commons building was the year of our junior year, getting ready to have the junior senior banquet, which we were sponsoring, being juniors. And Doris Dawson was our class sponsor, and she thought that all us junior boys ought to learn how to eat. So she arranged with Mr. Rose over in the shop, agriculture building, to do a little switch for a couple of weeks, if I recall. All the boys in the class came over here to Miss Dawson, learned table manners and etiquette, and all about the right silverware to use, which we promptly forgot. And the girls went over there, and I think he gave all of you a little project of some kind you got to do over there, as to keep you over there so we could get the education, but we really needed it. But that was the last time I remember being in here. But I know too that, as I recall, plumbing was a little short on this campus when we were here. And some of us have not forgotten that, because I came in over here and asked about the restroom earlier, and someone started describing us around there. Johnny says, outside? So, you know, that's really right on. Well, I'll tell you, all of you filled out a little, does anyone have anything else they'd like to say at this point that you forgot at the time you talked?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to tell you that I'm still working, and I've been standing behind that chair 48 years in September.
Wow.
And I guess I stay there till I fall over behind it, I don't know. But anyway, I want to tell you about my neighbor that I brought with me. We moved in our houses right next door 2 weeks apart, and our kids were all little. They grew up together, and just like brother and sisters, and she's just like a second mama to them, and I'm just like their second mama. And she's a widow, and so am I, and so we both cook, and she doesn't work out, but she's one of these that does for everybody else. And when I get off from work at night, she has our meal ready. We eat together at night. We play skip bowl, and then I go home, go to bed, good and relaxed, you know. 'Cause I can be so tired, and after I eat and play a couple games skip bowl, it really relaxes me. And I don't know how to do without her.
I'm glad you brought her. I'm glad you brought her, and I'm glad you shared that with us. And some of the rest of you have people in here I think you'd like to share with us.
Well, I wouldn't have got to come if Susan Hickey. She's kind of like my foster child, and I babysit her boys, take care of them. And I couldn't have come if she hadn't volunteered that brought me. And I really appreciate it. We appreciate her too.
I'm glad you brought her. I'm glad you're here, Susan.
Well, 2 of my daughters brought me. Nancy's gone out to show our friend Joanne Bill stuff.
That's got to be qualified. That's Bill's town at night.
I asked her, she said, I don't know if you're I said, okay, you go with us. And Nancy says, yes, and I'll show you the sights of delight. We started out with Hollywood. Well, my girls always had Hollywood. That's where the Western stars.
You mentioned your brother earlier, and I'd like to formally introduce him to those that don't know him. This is Leonard Watson. I think everybody knows him probably. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Who else now has got, yes, Othel. Okay, we're glad you're here.
Let me say, I'm a party crasher, but I love to crash this reunion nursing home up there. They had dinner for us, so I just had to come by and see who I could see that I hadn't seen in years. Tomorrow is the greatest day of the year for me.
The way to
Don't shoot me.
way to put that's young faces that you haven't seen in a lot of years.
I want to tell you another on Johnny over there. We went out a hunting one Sunday afternoon, possum or whatever we could get. So, okay, it's a big holly and a black gum tree way up there. And he couldn't hug it, bear hug it to climb it. So we chopped down a sapling about 20 feet or more and leaned up against there, and he climbed up and got up there, and he couldn't get turned around to come back down there. We had to turn that sapling over. You remember that, John? It is up the creek from your house.
I think it was up the creek for Johnny.
You might have been one of these, Charles.
I don't know about that. I don't remember.
Never forget that.
Charles,
Yes.
you were talking about Billstown at night. If the people here have not seen delight at night at Christmas, it is beautiful here. They really do decorate this town. Last year was our first time here at Christmas time, and it is beautiful. Everything is all lit up, you know, with the lights, and it's a beautiful thing.
I'm glad
to see.
you shared that with us, because I didn't know
Oh,
that.
it is. Very pretty.
We'll be back.
All right, we'll,
I could share a little something about Tessie. Her youngest daughter's had surgery recently. Plug out. Yeah, it's taking a plug out.
what we're gonna do is we have some winners, obviously, here of these little things. So I think I know, because I heard him say so, but with the one that traveled 500 miles,
I really traveled 650, but 150 of that was on side roads chasing birds.
I tell you what, we had an award for him, but I'm going to make a decision on the spot. Since I did the computations on this, I know he won some more. And so I'm going to hold forth for a little bit here.
No.
Now, the one that is most changed, and this is Othel. And if Othel will come up here, we got a grand gift for you, Othel. Johnny's got it right
You
here.
should take a look at these before you leave here. Oh, they're beautiful. Charles and Ann had this done in Searcy, and it's memento. You can
Pin those up on the wall in the bathroom.
congratulations.
Now, who do you think is the least changed? There were not many voted on that category. I can't imagine why either. Well, it was Sarah.
Sarah.
Get up there, Sarah.
You might change.
You ought to be happy to know you're the least changed, right?
Wait a minute.
Now, how many grandchildren do you have? I heard the winners of that just a while ago. Someone had 10. Yeah, that's Johnny. Call your, well, you want to call your wife up and pin that on her?
She's responsible.
I doubt it.
No, you're right. Don't take any responsibility in this matter, no.
At least I get credit for something.
Yeah. Well, Mrs. Boyd on those 10 grandchildren.
We have 3 grandchildren that are 18 now. One last Christmas Eve, and then the twins were 18 on March the 2nd. So we'll have 3 graduating from high school this year.
And all, this just proved the point. you ever want to get a conversation started, just get into the grandchildren business.
They're all grand.
Yes, sir, you betcha.
I have one little one that will be 4 in July, and she's a doll too.
Well, we just had one that just turned 6 months.
Wow.
Last week.
Anybody beat that on you?
So we got a little chance to go see him here. He was born in October, and we went out there last month to visit him in California. And, you know, he was waiting for us.
I heard a preacher say that if he knew that grandchildren was gonna be as wonderful as it was, that he'd had them first.
Yeah, I like that.
That's good.
We've got another one here. Which man do you think has the highest forehead? That was JB, incidentally. I know that was a tight one. But we come up here.
Yeah, it goes all the way to the back.
Kind of figure you need something more than a button. I'll cover that spot up a bit for you.
Yes. There's a tight race between you and James.
I guess we
Beat you out, James.
You got it out, didn't you?
That looks pretty good.
I can't see it, I saw it wrong, but I can't see it. Well, why didn't you? Because it didn't. I was being tactful. And not saying you can't keep your foot off your dress.
We have one left here because we couldn't do it. We figured it would be a little insignificant to give JB another one of these because he traveled the farthest. But he was bird hunting, so we took it away from him. See, you talk too much, JB. But that bird hunting story didn't even get in the ballpark with those potatoes on the exhaust. I'll tell you what, James Russell's right in there with you. Between the two of you, I don't know how Delight survived. I'll tell you what we're going to do with this, and if anyone is a dissenter in this vote that Johnny and I just took, we're going to give this to Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I deserved it or not.
Why, you don't have a thing to say about it, lady. Now, a little bit of business. The other comment on there was, when do you feel we should have our next reunion? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? And I mentioned there, circle one, remember that at our age, time marches on.
Swiftly.
Rapid.
And you know everybody took that seriously too.